Jake Morrison stood near the large window of Kepler Station's main docking bay. He watched as ships came and went from the busy spaceport. Some were human vessels with their simple metal hulls. Others belonged to alien races with strange designs that hurt his eyes to look at for too long. Jake had been working at Kepler Station for 3 years now. As a human military liaison, his job was to help solve problems between different species. Most days were quiet. Today felt different. A massive ship appeared outside the window. It was unlike anything Jake had seen before. The hull looked like it was made from living crystal that changed colors as it moved. Blue light ran along its surface in patterns that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. This was a HFY warship. The HFY were famous throughout the galaxy. They were warriors who valued honor above everything else. Their technology was so advanced that most other species could barely understand it. They rarely visited trading stations like Kepler. When they did, it usually meant trouble. Jake made his way to the docking bay where the ship would land. A small crowd had already gathered. Humans, aliens, and various station workers all wanted to see what brought a HFY warrior to their remote outpost. The ship's door opened with a soft hiss. Steam poured out and then she appeared. Zara Ith was nearly 8 feet tall. Her skin was pale blue with silver markings that covered her arms and face. Her eyes were large and completely black, like looking into deep space. But what drew everyone's attention was her armor, or what was left of it. The armor looked like it had once been beautiful. Parts of it still glowed with soft blue light. Crystal plates covered her shoulders and chest, but many were cracked or missing completely. Cables hung loose from her arms and legs. Some sections sparked with electricity while others were completely dark. Zara Ith moved slowly, each step careful and painful. The armor that should have made her stronger was now holding her back. Jake could see burn marks on the crystal plates. Whatever had happened to her, it had been bad. She stopped in the middle of the docking bay and looked around at the crowd. When her black eyes found Jake, she walked toward him. "You are the human liaison," she said. Her voice was deep and carried a strange musical quality. "I need help," Jake nodded. "I'm Jake Morrison. What can I do for you?" Zara Ith gestured to her damaged armor. "This has been in my family for 20 generations. It was grown on my homeworld from living crystal. The armor and I are connected. When it dies, I die." Jake looked closer at the armor. He could see that some parts were indeed alive. Thin veins of blue light moved slowly through the crystal like blood through arteries, but many of these veins were broken or dark. "What happened?" Jake asked. "Pirates," Zara Ith said simply. "They attacked a transport ship. I tried to stop them. Their weapons were designed to hurt living crystal. They knew how to fight my people." Jake felt anger rise in his chest. Pirates were getting bolder and smarter. They were learning how to fight different alien species and using that knowledge to cause pain. "The armor is dying," Zara Ith continued. "I have traveled to 3 star systems looking for someone who can fix it. The tech priests of Altair said it was impossible. The machine minds of the Nexus Collective gave up after 1 day. Even the bioengineers of the Healers Guild turned me away." She looked down at her hands. Jake could see that her fingers were shaking slightly. "My people believe that when our armor dies, our spirit dies with it. I have perhaps 10 days before the crystal stops growing completely. After that, nothing can save it." Jake thought about what he knew of HFY culture. Their armor was not just protection. It was a living part of them. HFY children received their first armor when they were very young. It grew with them throughout their lives. To lose it was like losing a part of their soul. "Why did you come here?" Jake asked. "Kepler Station is not known for advanced technology." Zara Ith was quiet for a long moment. "The bioengineers told me something before I left. They said that sometimes the most advanced minds cannot solve problems that simple minds can. They suggested I find humans." Jake raised his eyebrows. Most aliens thought humans were primitive. Their technology was crude compared to other species. The fact that someone had recommended humans was surprising. "They said humans have a reputation," Zara Ith continued. "You fix things that should not be fixable. You make impossible things work." "Is this true?" Jake smiled. "We try. We don't always succeed, but we try." "Then you will help me." "I'll do what I can," Jake said. "But I should warn you, I'm not a mechanic. I'm just a liaison. However, I know someone who might be able to help." Hope appeared in Zara Ith's black eyes for the first time since she had arrived. "Who?" "Her name is Lisa Chen. She runs a repair shop in the human section of the station. She fixes things that other people say can't be fixed. If anyone can help you, it's her. Zara'ith nodded slowly. I will try anything. Jake looked at the crowd that had gathered around them. Many aliens were staring at Zara'ith's armor with curiosity or pity. Some humans were taking pictures with their devices. This was not a private conversation anymore. Come on, Jake said. Let's go find Lisa, and let's get you somewhere more private. As they walked through the station's corridors, Jake noticed how other beings reacted to Zara'ith. The aliens showed respect and fear. They knew what the Kethvar were capable of when they were healthy. Seeing one so damaged was disturbing to them. The humans reacted differently. They looked at the broken armor with interest rather than fear. Jake could almost see them thinking about how they might fix it. This was the human way. When they saw something broken, they wanted to make it work again. They reached the human section of the station. The corridors here were busier and noisier. Human voices mixed with the sounds of machinery and construction. This was where people came to get things done. Jake stopped in front of a door marked Chen's Repairs. If it's broken, we'll fix it. Sound came from inside. The noise of welding and machinery mixed with someone cursing in what sounded like 3 different languages. This is Lisa's shop, Jake said. She might be our only hope. Zara'ith looked at the simple door and the basic sign. After visiting the most advanced facilities in 3-star systems, this looked almost primitive to her. Are you certain? She asked. Jake smiled. With humans, you can never be certain of anything. But that's what makes us useful. He pressed the button to announce their arrival. The noise inside stopped. A moment later, a voice called out, "We're closed. Come back tomorrow." "Lisa, it's Jake Morrison. I have someone who needs help." There was a pause, then the sound of footsteps. The door opened to reveal a woman in her 30s with short black hair and grease stains on her clothes. She looked tired but alert. "Jake," Lisa said, "what brings you to my corner of paradise?" Jake gestured to Zara'ith. "Lisa Chen, meet Zara'ith of the Kethvar Empire. She needs someone to repair her armor." Lisa looked up at the tall alien warrior. Her eyes moved over the damaged armor, taking in every detail. Jake could see her mind working, analyzing what she was seeing. "Interesting," Lisa said finally. "Come inside. Let's see what we're dealing with." Lisa's workshop was chaos. That was the first thing Zara'ith noticed as she stepped inside. Parts from dozens of different ships covered every surface. Tools hung from the walls in no particular order. Half-finished projects sat on workbenches next to empty coffee cups and food containers. The air smelled of hot metal, electrical burns, and something that might have been lunch from 3 days ago. A large alien engine took up most of the center of the room. Lisa had been working on it when they arrived. Sparks still flew from where she had been welding. "Sorry about the mess," Lisa said, not sounding sorry at all. "I wasn't expecting company." She walked over to the engine and turned off her welding torch. The sparks stopped flying. Lisa pulled off her protective mask and wiped sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand. This left a new grease stain on her skin. "So," Lisa said, turning to look at Zara'ith, "Kethvar bioarmor. That's a first for me." Zara'ith looked around the messy workshop. After seeing the clean, organized facilities of the other repair centers, this place seemed almost primitive. She began to wonder if coming here had been a mistake. "You have experience with biomechanical systems?" Zara'ith asked. Lisa laughed. "I have experience with systems that don't want to work. Biomechanical, purely mechanical, quantum, crystal-based, AI-controlled. Doesn't matter. If it's broken, I figure out how to fix it." She walked closer to Zara'ith and began examining the armor. Unlike the other technicians who had used scanners and instruments, Lisa just looked with her eyes. She walked around the tall alien warrior, studying the damage from every angle. "Tell me what happened," Lisa said. Zara'ith explained about the pirate attack. She described how their weapons had somehow disrupted the living crystal that made up her armor. The biomechanical connections had been severed in dozens of places. The crystal organisms were dying. The other technicians said the damage was too complex, Zara'ith continued. They said the integration patterns were too alien for repair. The biomechanical matrix could not be restored. Lisa nodded as she listened. She reached out and touched one of the damaged crystal plates. Zara'ith felt a small shock through her nervous system. The armor was still connected to her even though it was dying. "May I?" Lisa asked, indicating she wanted to examine the armor more closely. Zara'ith nodded, though she was nervous. The armor was sacred to her people. Allowing an outsider to touch it was almost unthinkable. but she was desperate. Lisa began running her hands over the armor's surface. She closed her eyes and seemed to be feeling for something. Her fingers traced the broken crystal veins and damaged connection points. She pressed her ear against the chest plate and listened. "Interesting," Lisa murmured. "What do you hear?" Jake asked. "It's not dead," Lisa said. "Hurt, yes. Confused, definitely. But not dead." She opened her eyes and looked at Zara'ith. The other technicians were right about one thing. This armor was designed to be perfect. Every connection, every system, every growth pattern was planned out in advance. Your people are amazing engineers. Zara'ith felt a small amount of pride, but Lisa was not finished talking. "The problem is that perfection makes things brittle," Lisa continued. "When something goes wrong, there's no room for adjustment. The armor doesn't know how to adapt because it was never supposed to need to adapt." Lisa walked over to one of her workbenches and picked up a piece of human-made electronic equipment. It was clearly a repair job. Wires stuck out in all directions. The metal casing had been replaced with something that did not match. It looked ugly compared to the elegant alien technology in the room. "This is a navigation computer from a cargo ship," Lisa said. "The original circuits were fried in a solar storm. The replacement parts didn't fit properly, so I made them fit." She showed them how she had modified the casing and rewired the connections. The work looked crude, but Jake could see that it functioned perfectly. "Human technology is not perfect," Lisa said. "We make mistakes. Our designs have flaws, but that means we're good at fixing things when they break. We expect things to go wrong, so we plan for it." Zara'ith was beginning to understand. "You believe you can repair my armor using human methods?" "I believe I can repair your armor by teaching it human methods," Lisa said. "Your armor is alive, right? Living things can learn and adapt. But your armor has never had to learn because it was created perfect. I think I can teach it how to be imperfect." This idea was shocking to Zara'ith. The Kethvar valued perfection above almost everything else. Their entire culture was built around achieving ideal forms and perfect harmony. The idea of deliberately making something imperfect was almost offensive. "You want to make my armor worse?" Zara'ith asked. "I want to make your armor flexible," Lisa said. "Right now it's like a beautiful crystal sculpture. Gorgeous to look at, but if you drop it, it shatters. I want to make it like human technology. Ugly maybe, but nearly impossible to break permanently." Lisa walked over to another workbench and picked up a tablet computer. She showed them the screen, which was cracked in several places. The casing was dented and held together with some kind of tape. "This tablet has been dropped, flooded, exposed to radiation, and attacked by a very angry alien cat thing," Lisa said. "It still works perfectly. That's human engineering for you." Jake had to smile. He had seen Lisa's equipment survive things that would destroy much more expensive alien technology. Human devices might not be pretty, but they kept working. "How would you do this?" Zara'ith asked. She was still skeptical, but she was also curious. Lisa began explaining her plan. She would need to introduce human-made components into the armor's biomechanical systems, neural interfaces that could adapt to changing conditions, power distribution networks that could reroute themselves when damaged, self-repairing materials that could grow and change. "The living crystal will resist at first," Lisa said. "It's been trained to reject anything that isn't perfect. But crystals are actually very good at adapting when they have to. I think your armor will learn to work with the human components." "And if you are wrong?" Zara'ith asked. Lisa was quiet for a moment. "If I'm wrong, your armor dies and you die with it. But from what you've told me, that's going to happen anyway in about 10 days. At least this way, we're trying something." Zara'ith considered this. The other repair facilities had been filled with beings who were smarter than humans. They had better technology, more advanced knowledge, and perfect facilities. All of them had failed. Now she was standing in a messy workshop talking to a human who wanted to make her perfect armor imperfect. It made no sense according to everything she had been taught about engineering and technology. But she was out of options. "How long will it take?" Zara'ith asked. "I don't know," Lisa said honestly. "I've never tried anything like this before. Could be 3 days, could be 6. Depends on how quickly your armor learns to accept the changes." "And you believe this will work?" Lisa smiled. "I believe that nothing is impossible to fix. Some things just require more creative solutions than others." Jake watched the exchange between the two women. He could see that Zara'ith was struggling with the decision. Everything about Lisa's approach went against Kethvar beliefs about technology and perfection. "What do you need from me?" Zara'ith asked finally. I need you to trust me, Lisa said. And I need you to be prepared for your armor to feel different when I'm done. It won't be the same armor your family has worn for 20 generations. It will be something new. Zara closed her black eyes and was quiet for a long time. Jake could see the struggle on her face. She was being asked to choose between her culture's values and her life. When do we start? She asked at last. Lisa grinned. Right now. Jake, can you help me clear some space? This is going to require all the room we can get. As they began moving equipment around the workshop, Jake noticed something. For the first time since Zara had arrived at the station, she looked hopeful. Not confident. That would come later, if at all, but hopeful. Sometimes Jake thought hope was enough to start with. One more thing, Lisa said as she gathered her tools. This is going to hurt. The armor is connected to your nervous system, and I'm going to be making major changes. Are you ready for that? Zara straightened to her full height. I am Kethvar. I am ready, Lisa nodded. Then let's save your life. The first day was torture for Zara. Lisa had asked her to sit in a special chair that could support the weight of the armor. Then she began what she called diagnostic surgery. She attached dozens of human-made sensors to different parts of the armor. Each connection sent small shocks through Zara-Ith's nervous system. Sorry, Lisa said every time Zara-Ith winced. I need to understand how your armor talks to your body before I can fix the conversation. Jake watched from across the workshop. He had seen Lisa work on many different types of technology, but never anything this complex. And never anything that was connected to a living being. Lisa's method was unlike anything the other technicians had tried. While they had used precise instruments and followed careful procedures, Lisa seemed to make everything up as she went along. She would try something, see how the armor reacted, then try something completely different. The crystal matrix is more flexible than I thought, Lisa said as she studied her readings. But the neural connections are too rigid. They can't adapt when something changes. She picked up a small device that looked like it had been built from spare parts. Because it had been. Lisa had put it together that morning using components from 3 different species technology. What is that? Zara-Ith asked. Neural bridge, Lisa said. Human design, but modified with some Rigelian processing units and a Centauri power cell. It should help your armor learn new connection patterns. The idea of mixing technologies from different species was shocking to most aliens. Each race's technology was designed to work with their own systems. Combining them usually led to explosions or worse. But Lisa seemed to make it work through pure determination, and what Jake was beginning to think of as organized chaos. This might hurt a bit, Lisa warned as she prepared to install the neural bridge. A bit turned out to be an understatement. When Lisa made the first connection, Zara-Ith screamed. The sound echoed through the workshop and probably through half the station. Jake jumped to his feet, ready to stop Lisa if necessary. It's okay, Lisa called out, not taking her eyes off her work. The armor is just surprised. It's never felt human neural patterns before. Zara-Ith gritted her teeth and forced herself to be still. Sweat ran down her blue skin, and her hands gripped the arms of the chair so tightly that the metal bent. But she did not ask Lisa to stop. After several minutes, the pain began to fade. The armor's crystal plates started glowing with a different color light. Instead of pure blue, there were now traces of green and silver mixed in. Interesting, Lisa said. Your armor is trying to understand the human neural patterns. It's like watching a child learn a new language. Word of what Lisa was attempting had spread through the station. Other technicians began stopping by to watch. Most of them shook their heads and predicted disaster. Some made bets on how many days it would take for the experiment to fail completely. She's going to kill that poor warrior, said Dr. Harrison, a human scientist who worked with alien biology. Mixing technologies like that is asking for trouble. The armor will reject the human components, added Vexitar, an alien engineer from the Nexus Collective. Living crystal cannot bond with crude metal. Lisa ignored them all. She continued working, making connections and adjustments that seemed random to everyone watching. But Jake began to see a pattern. Lisa was not just adding human technology to the armor. She was teaching the armor how to think like a human. On the second day, something went wrong with one of the power connections. Sparks flew from Zara-Ith's arm and she cried out in pain. The smell of burning crystal filled the workshop. I need to shut down the system and start over, Lisa said, reaching for the power controls. No, Zara-Ith said through gritted teeth. Keep going. But you're being hurt. I am Kethavar, Zara-Ith said firmly. We do not give up when things become difficult. Continue your work. Lisa looked at her for a moment, then nodded. Instead of shutting down the system, she grabbed a fire extinguisher and put out the sparks. Then she found the problem connection and fixed it while the system was still running. Jake was amazed. Most technicians would have stopped everything to prevent further damage. But Lisa treated the emergency as just another problem to solve. She fixed it and kept going. By the third day, other changes began to appear. The armor's shape started to shift slightly. New crystal growth appeared where Lisa had made her modifications. The living crystal was not just accepting the human components, it was growing around them, incorporating them into its structure. This should not be possible, whispered Dr. Yulhan, a bioengineer who had come to watch. Living crystal follows genetic patterns that are millions of years old. It cannot change this quickly. But it was changing. Jake could see it happening in real time. The armor was learning, adapting, becoming something new. It was still recognizably Kethvar in design. But now it had something else, something human. Lisa worked almost without stopping. She slept for a few hours each night in a chair next to her workbench. She ate meals while studying her readings. She talked to the armor constantly, explaining what she was doing and why. I know this feels strange, she would say as she worked. But trust me, I'm making you stronger. Jake began to wonder if Lisa really believed the armor could understand her, or if talking to it was just her way of working through problems. Either way, it seemed to help. The armor responded better when Lisa talked to it. On the morning of the fourth day, Jake arrived at the workshop to find a small crowd gathered outside. News of the experiment had spread beyond the station. Scientists and engineers from several different species had come to watch. Inside, Lisa was making final adjustments to the neural bridge network. The armor now glowed with a complex pattern of colors. Blue, green, silver, and gold light moved through the crystal plates like a slow rainbow. How do you feel? Lisa asked Zara-Ith. Different, Zara-Ith replied. The armor responds faster than before. I can feel it thinking. Good, Lisa said. That means the neural bridges are working. Your armor is now capable of learning and adapting on its own. It won't need to be perfect because it can fix itself when things go wrong. Lisa began disconnecting some of her monitoring equipment. We're almost done. Just one more major connection to make and then we test everything. She picked up a device that looked more complex than anything she had built so far. It was about the size of her hand and covered with connections for different types of technology. Central Processing Hub, Lisa explained. This will coordinate all the different systems and help them work together. It's the brain that will help your armor think like a human when it needs to. And if it does not work? Zara-Ith asked. Lisa was honest. If it doesn't work, we'll know in about 30 seconds. Either your armor will integrate the hub and become fully functional, or all the systems will crash at once. The crowd outside pressed closer to the windows. Even the critics wanted to see what would happen. Jake found himself holding his breath. Ready? Lisa asked. Zara-Ith nodded. Do it. Lisa made the final connection. For a moment, nothing happened. The armor continued glowing with its rainbow pattern. Zara-Ith sat perfectly still. The workshop was completely quiet. Then every light in the armor went out at once. The crystal plates turned dark. The neural connection stopped glowing. Even the sound of the armor's internal systems faded to nothing. Zara-Ith slumped forward in her chair. No, Lisa whispered. No, no, no. The crowd outside began talking excitedly. Some sounded disappointed. Others sounded relieved. Dr. Harrison was already shaking his head and walking away. Jake moved toward Zara-Ith, but Lisa held up a hand to stop him. Wait, she said. Just wait. Lisa, I think, wait, Lisa said more firmly. Look at the crystal. Really look at it. Jake stared at the dark armor. At first he saw nothing. Then he noticed a very faint glow deep inside the crystal plates. It was barely visible, like a candle flame seen through thick fog. It's not broken, Lisa said with growing excitement. It's thinking. The faint glow began to grow stronger. Slowly, very slowly, patterns of light began moving through the crystal. But these patterns were different from before. They were more complex, more organized. The armor is reorganizing itself, Lisa said. All the different systems, Kethvar, human, and everything in between, they're learning how to work together. The light continued to grow. Soon the armor was glowing brighter than it ever had before. But the real surprise came when Zara-Ith opened her eyes. They were no longer completely black. Now they showed traces of other colors, the same blues, greens, and golds that moved through her armor. "I can feel everything," Zara said in wonder. "The armor, the station, even the people around us. It's like having new senses I never knew were possible." Lisa grinned. "Welcome to human thinking. Messy, chaotic, but very hard to break." Outside the workshop, the crowd was silent. They had just witnessed something that should have been impossible. A human had not just repaired alien technology, she had improved it, but Jake could see that they were not done yet. Lisa's expression showed that something important was still missing. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Nothing's wrong," Lisa said, "but we need to test it. Really test it. The armor needs to prove it can handle stress and damage." She looked at Zara. "Are you ready to find out if this really worked?" 3 weeks later, Kepler Station looked very different. Ships from across the galaxy filled the docking bays. Scientists, engineers, and officials from dozens of different species had come to see Lisa's workshop. The quiet trading post had become the center of attention for half the known universe. Jake stood in the station's main conference room, watching as Admiral Helen Carter addressed a gathering of alien dignitaries. Representatives from the Altarian tech priests sat next to delegates from the Nexus Collective. Even the normally reclusive Healers Guild had sent observers. The implications of Ms. Chen's work extend far beyond a single armor repair, Admiral Carter was saying. "We believe this represents a new approach to interspecies technological cooperation." Jake noticed that she was being very careful with her words. The various alien powers were nervous about what humanity's new capabilities might mean for the balance of power in the galaxy. In the back of the room, Zara stood silently in her transformed armor. The rainbow patterns of light flowing through the crystal had become even more complex over the past few weeks. The armor continued to evolve and improve itself, learning from every experience. She had become something of a celebrity herself. Scientists wanted to study her armor. Military officials wanted to understand its capabilities. Everyone wanted to know how it felt to wear technology that bridged the gap between organic and mechanical systems. But Zara had refused most requests for examination. She would demonstrate the armor's abilities, but she would not allow others to take it apart to study it. The armor was still sacred to her, even in its new form. Lisa had been less fortunate in avoiding attention. Her workshop was constantly busy with visitors who wanted to see her methods. Most days she could barely get any actual work done because of all the interruptions. "I hate this," Lisa had complained to Jake the day before. "I became a mechanic so I could work with machines, not people." But even Lisa could not ignore what was happening around her. Orders for repair work were pouring in from across the galaxy. Species that had never trusted humans with their technology were now specifically requesting human technicians. The economic implications were staggering. Entire industries were shifting as other species began to value human engineering methods. Trade agreements were being renegotiated. Diplomatic relationships were changing. In the conference room, a representative from the HFY Empire stood to address the gathering. Ambassador Nelthara was an elderly female with silver markings that indicated high rank among her people. "The HFY Empire has observed these developments with great interest," she said in the musical voice of her species. "For 20,000 years, we have believed that technological perfection was the highest achievement possible." She paused and looked directly at Zara. "Our warriors' experience has taught us that we were wrong. Perfection is not the goal. Adaptation is the goal. Growth is the goal. The ability to become something better than what you were before, that is the true achievement." Murmurs spread through the room. The HFY were known for their rigid adherence to traditional values. For their ambassador to publicly acknowledge that their fundamental beliefs had been wrong was unprecedented. Therefore, Ambassador Nelthara continued, "The HFY Empire formally requests to establish a technological exchange program with humanity. We wish to learn these methods of adaptive engineering." The room erupted in surprised conversation. The HFY had never before asked to learn from a species they considered technologically inferior. Admiral Carter stood to respond. "Humanity would be honored to share our knowledge with the HFY Empire." But before she could continue, another voice spoke up. "What about the rest of us?" The speaker was Dr. Zell Nora from the Healers Guild. Her biomechanical body was a work of art, living tissue seamlessly integrated with advanced technology. The guild was famous for creating medical devices that were as much alive as they were mechanical. "We have observed the results of human adaptive engineering," Dr. Zelnora said. "Our biomedical technology could benefit greatly from these methods. We also request to participate in this exchange program." More voices joined in. The Altarian tech priests wanted to learn how human chaos theory could improve their quantum computers. The Nexus Collective was interested in how human neural patterns could enhance artificial intelligence. Even the normally secretive Crystal Singers expressed interest in human mining techniques. Jake watched in amazement as species after species requested to work with humanity. For the first time in galactic history, humans were not asking to join alien programs. Aliens were asking to join human programs. Admiral Carter was clearly overwhelmed by the response. We will need time to consider all these requests and determine how best to proceed." "If I may," Zara-Ith said, stepping forward. The room fell silent. Everyone wanted to hear from the warrior whose transformation had started this diplomatic revolution. Zara-Ith walked to the center of the room. Her armor moved with fluid grace, the crystal plates shifting and adjusting with each step. The rainbow light pattern seemed to respond to her emotions, growing brighter as she prepared to speak. "3 weeks ago I came to this station dying," she said. "My armor was broken. My spirit was broken. I had been turned away by the greatest technicians in 3 star systems." She looked around the room, making eye contact with representatives from each species. "I was saved not by advanced technology or perfect procedures. I was saved by a human who was willing to try something that everyone else said was impossible." Zara-Ith turned to look at Admiral Carter. "Only the human mechanic repaired this armor," she said clearly. Then she slowly looked at each alien representative in turn. "She did not repair it by making it more Kethvar. She repaired it by making it more human." The silence in the room was complete. Jake could hear his own heartbeat. "This is what humans bring to the galaxy," Zara-Ith continued. "Not better technology, not perfect solutions. They bring the willingness to try, to fail, to try again, and to never give up until something works." She gestured to her glowing armor. "My armor is now stronger than it has ever been. But more importantly, it is now capable of becoming even stronger. It can learn, adapt, and grow. These are human gifts." Zara-Ith looked directly at Admiral Carter again. "You ask what humanity's place should be in the galaxy. I believe humanity's place is to teach the rest of us that perfection is not the end goal. Growth is the end goal." The room remained silent for several long moments. Then Ambassador Nilthara began to speak, but her words were interrupted by the sound of alarms. Emergency lights began flashing throughout the station. A voice over the communication system announced, "All personnel to emergency stations. Pirate attack detected. All personnel to emergency stations." Through the conference room's windows, Jake could see ships approaching the station. They moved in attack formation, weapons charging for assault. "How many?" Admiral Carter asked, activating her communication device. 12 ships, came the reply from station security. Heavy assault class. They're demanding surrender. Carter turned to the alien representatives. "I suggest you evacuate to your ships immediately." But Zara-Ith was already moving toward the exit. "I will not run from pirates again." "Your armor is still experimental," Carter warned. "We don't know how it will perform in real combat." Zara-Ith stopped and turned back. The armor's crystal plates were now glowing with bright white light. Jake could see determination in her black eyes. "Admiral Carter," she said. 3 weeks ago, my armor failed against these same pirates. Today we will see what human engineering can do." She walked out of the conference room, leaving the assembled diplomats staring after her in amazement. "Well," said Dr. Zelnora quietly, "I believe we are about to witness the first real test of human-enhanced alien technology in combat." Jake found himself following Zara-Ith toward the docking bays. Behind him, he could hear Admiral Carter organizing the defense of the station and the alien representatives arguing about whether to stay and observe or flee to safety. But his attention was focused on the warrior ahead of him. Zara-Ith moved with confidence he had not seen since she first arrived at the station. Her armor pulsed with energy, ready for battle. In a few minutes, they would all learn whether Lisa's impossible repair job had truly worked. They would discover if human adaptive engineering could stand up to the chaos of real combat. Jake had a feeling they were about to witness something that would be talked about across the galaxy for generations to come. The human method was about to face its ultimate test. The test almost killed them both. Lisa had set up a simulation chamber to test the armor's new capabilities. It was a small room that could create different types of damage and stress. The plan was to start with minor problems and work up to more serious ones. They never got past the first test. When Lisa activated the chamber's energy weapons to simulate a small attack, something went catastrophically wrong. Instead of absorbing the energy like it should have, the armor began to overload. Power surged through every system at once. Zara'ith screamed as electricity coursed through her body. The armor's crystal plates began to crack. Sparks flew from every connection point. The beautiful rainbow light that had been flowing through the armor turned angry red. "Shut it down," Jake yelled, but Lisa was already diving for the controls too late. The power surge had damaged the shutdown systems. The test chamber was locked on maximum power, pouring energy into the failing armor. Smoke began filling the room as circuits burned out. "The whole system is cascading," Lisa shouted over the noise of alarms. "Everything's failing at once." Jake grabbed a fire extinguisher, but Lisa stopped him. "Don't." The chemical foam could react with the crystal. Zara'ith was convulsing in the chair. The armor that was supposed to protect her was now torturing her. Every system that Lisa had so carefully connected was now destroying itself and taking the others with it. "I have to disconnect everything," Lisa said, grabbing her tools. "If I can cut the main power lines, you'll be electrocuted," Jake warned. "If I don't try, she dies." Lisa rushed toward the sparking armor, but before she could reach it, something unexpected happened. The red light flowing through the crystal suddenly changed to deep blue. The chaotic sparks organized themselves into patterns. The armor's systems stopped fighting each other and began working together. The overload didn't stop. But somehow the armor was controlling it. Zara'ith's screaming faded to heavy breathing. Her body stopped convulsing. When she opened her eyes, they were glowing with the same deep blue light as her armor. "What just happened?" Jake asked. Lisa was staring at her readings in amazement. The armor didn't fail. It learned. She showed them the data from the test. When the overload began, all the different systems had tried to handle it separately. The Kethvar crystal matrix had attempted to absorb the energy. The human neural networks had tried to redirect it. The various alien components had each responded according to their own programming. The result should have been total destruction. Instead, something remarkable had occurred. The central processing hub did what it was designed to do, Lisa explained. It taught all the different systems to work together. Instead of fighting the overload, they combined their responses into something new. The armor had created an entirely new way to handle energy attacks. It absorbed what it could, redirected what it couldn't absorb, and used the excess to strengthen its own systems. The overload that should have destroyed it had made it more powerful. "But the pain," Zara'ith said weakly. "Why did it hurt so much?" "Because the armor had to rewrite its basic programming in about 10 seconds, Lisa said. It had to learn a completely new way of thinking while under extreme stress. That kind of change was bound to be painful." Jake helped Zara'ith stand up. The armor moved differently now. It seemed more fluid, more responsive. When she took a step, the crystal plates adjusted their shape slightly to make the movement smoother. "How do you feel?" Lisa asked. Zara'ith considered the question. "Strange. The armor feels more alive than before. I can sense its thoughts and it can sense mine. We are more connected than my people believed possible." Lisa ran more tests over the next hour. Each one showed the same result. The armor was not just functional, it was better than it had ever been. It could adapt to new situations instantly. It could repair minor damage automatically. It could even learn from experience and improve its responses. "This is unprecedented," said Dr. Yulhan, who had been watching the whole time. "Living crystal cannot evolve this quickly. It takes thousands of years for natural adaptation to occur." "Natural adaptation, yes," Lisa said, "but this isn't natural. The armor is using human-style learning algorithms combined with Kethvar biomechanical systems. It can evolve at the speed of thought." Word of the successful test spread quickly through the station. Scientists who had dismissed Lisa's work as impossible began asking to examine the armor. Engineers wanted to understand how she had achieved the integration. Even some of the alien officials who governed the station requested meetings. But Lisa was exhausted. She had been working for 4 days with almost no sleep. The stress of almost losing Zara'ith during the test had drained her remaining energy. "I need coffee," she said, slumping into a chair, "and food, and about 12 hours of sleep." You should rest, Zareth agreed. You have given me back my life. I can never repay that debt. Lisa waved her hand dismissively. You don't owe me anything. I just did what any mechanic would do. I fixed what was broken. No, Zareth said firmly. What you did was not simple repair work. You created something new, something that should not exist according to everything my people know about technology. Jake had been thinking about this too. What Lisa had accomplished went beyond just fixing damaged equipment. She had found a way to combine technologies from different species in ways that no one had thought possible. Lisa, Jake said, do you understand what you've done here? Lisa looked up from her coffee cup. I fixed some armor. It was a tough job, but not impossible. You didn't just fix it, Jake said. You proved that human engineering methods can improve alien technology. That's huge, Lisa shrugged. Every species has different strengths. Humans are good at making broken things work. Aliens are good at making things that don't break in the first place. Seems like we should work together more often. But Jake could see that Lisa didn't fully understand the implications of what she had achieved. In a galaxy where humans were often seen as technologically primitive, she had just demonstrated that human methods could enhance even the most advanced alien systems. A soft chime indicated that someone was requesting entry to the workshop. Jake opened the door to find Commander Helen Carter of the human colonial fleet standing outside. Commander Carter was a tall woman with graying hair and sharp eyes. She wore the dark blue uniform of the colonial fleet and carried herself with military precision. Jake had met her a few times during diplomatic functions, but he was surprised to see her at Kepler Station. Commander Morrison, she said with a formal nod. I understand you've been involved in some interesting developments here. Commander Carter, Jake replied. I wasn't expecting to see you at the station. I was passing through on routine patrol when I received some very unusual reports, Carter said. May I come in? Jake stepped aside to let her enter. Commander Carter's eyes immediately went to Zareth, who stood near the center of the workshop. The armor was still glowing with its complex pattern of colors. Remarkable, Carter said quietly. The reports didn't do it justice. You're here about the armor repair? Lisa asked. I'm here because what you've accomplished has implications far beyond a single repair job, Carter said. Word of this is already spreading through diplomatic channels. Every major power in this sector wants to know how a human mechanic succeeded where their best technicians failed. Lisa looked uncomfortable with the attention. I just did my job. Your job may have changed the balance of power in this region, Carter said. If human engineering methods can enhance alien technology to this degree, that changes everything. Jake was beginning to understand what Carter meant. For decades, humans had been junior partners in galactic affairs. Their technology was seen as crude but reliable. Their methods were dismissed as chaotic and unrefined. But if Lisa's success could be replicated, if human engineering could consistently improve alien systems, then humanity's position in the galaxy would shift dramatically. Commander Carter, Zareth said, speaking for the first time since the officer had arrived. Your mechanic has saved my life and honored my people's most sacred traditions. But she has done more than that. Carter turned to listen. She has shown that true advancement comes not from perfection, but from the ability to adapt and grow. Zareth continued. My armor is now stronger than it has ever been, not because it was made perfect, but because it was taught to be flexible. Zareth looked directly at Carter. This is a lesson my people have never learned. Perhaps it is a lesson the galaxy needs to learn. Carter nodded slowly. Perhaps it is. She turned back to Lisa. Ms. Chen, I think you're going to be very busy in the coming weeks. There are going to be a lot of people who want to understand your methods. Lisa groaned. I hate explaining things. I just like fixing them. Then maybe you can teach people by showing them, Carter suggested. I have a feeling there are going to be plenty of opportunities for that. As the commander prepared to leave, Jake realized that this was just the beginning. Lisa's success with Zareth's armor was going to attract attention from across the galaxy. Some of that attention would be welcome. Some of it would not be, but for now. Zareth was alive, her armor was better than ever. And humanity had proven once again that sometimes the best way to solve an impossible problem was to try the impossible solution. Lisa was already back at her workbench,